there friends, Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library. And I'm here today to talk to you about some more really awesome romance books. They're perfect to read this time of year. We've got Valentine's Day this week, but really it doesn't even have to completely pertain to Valentine's Day. Maybe you're just in the mood for some romance stories, or maybe you want to just escape for a little while into a cozy book. These are really, really awesome examples of that. And I mean, you can love and enjoy romance at any time of the year, obviously. I mean, I know I do, but in particular, I really like around this time of year to just settle in with some really cute stories. So last week we talked about some really sweet romantic reads. And as promised, this week we're going to be talking about some spicy reads. So I have a little bit of criteria of what I consider to be a sweet read versus a spicy read that may differ from person to person. So I just want to explain that for a moment. So a spicy read is a book that is primarily focused on the physical connection between a couple characters. That doesn't mean to say that there isn't really a story, or that it's not a good story, or that the character development isn't there. It's just that maybe that stuff takes a little bit of a sideline to the actual physical intimacy that is going on in the story. So if you're looking for something that is a little bit less focused on the story itself and just more focused on the spice, as I like to call it, that is what I consider to be more of a spicy read. So that's not to say that a sweet book doesn't have any, spicy scenes in it, or that a spicy book doesn't have any character development. It's just really what I tend to view them as is, what is the focus of the story? Is it the characters in the story, or is it the spice? And then the story just kind of works around that. And that's okay. You don't have to be, feel weird about reading books like that. It took me a long time to get comfortable with reading books like that, especially in public. That's what e-readers are for, people. But, hey, everybody likes different stuff. So if that's what you're into and that's what you feel like reading, I've got some really great recommendations for you on that front. So the first one I want to talk about is actually two of them. And it is Wicked Beauty by Katee Robert and Radiant Sin, also by Katee Robert. So these are both books in a series called the Dark Olympus series. And I know I've talked about the first book in that series before. These are books 3 and 4, actually. And so the Dark Olympus series is a series basically that is reimagining Greek myths and putting them into a contemporary setting, with a lot of sexy time involved. So the first one was about Hades and Persephone. Wicked Beauty features Achilles, Patroclus, and Helen. Yes, it's 3 of them. Yes, that is important to the storyline. Radiant Sin deals with Cassandra and Apollo. You really don't have to go into these knowing an extensive amount of Greek mythology. Not really super important to the story. If you have a little bit of knowledge of it, it definitely makes them a little more enjoyable, for sure. But you don't really have to really know much about it. And I would also say that you really don't have to read the previous books. They're their own little story. So a lot of the characters show up in all the books, but you don't have to necessarily read them all or in any kind of particular order. If you say you really like Hades and Persephone and that romance story, and you just want to read that one, you totally can. If you're just super interested in what is going to be going on with Achilles, Patroclus, and Helen, then maybe you just want to dive into this one and not really bother with the others, and that's totally fine too. These books are just a really fun escape. So if you're looking for something that's very spicy, if you're looking for something that super not deep, right? Like and again, like I said, I'm not saying that as a bad thing about the book. Sometimes you really just need a palate cleanser. You just want to read something that's not going to make you think too hard or feel too many things. It's not going to exhaust you mentally or emotionally. You just want to have a good time. Katee Robert is really good for that. This is a really good series, particularly if you are in the mood for this sort of thing. So we've got Wicked Beauty, like I said, Achilles, Patroclus, and Helen, and Radiant Sin, Cassandra, and Apollo. Very, very good books. So the next book I want to talk about is very interesting because It's a book that I really expected to be a lot spicier than it was. And it really didn't. It was kind of light on the spice, but I'm still including it in this video because the story is really not very important past the romantic entanglement of the main two characters. So there's not really a lot of backstory for the main character. There's not really a lot of growth or, you know, anything particularly deep. It's just really focused on the romance between her and the main character. And like I said, that's totally fine. And I mean, you'll have to really, I think, agree with me that when you hear the title of this, why I thought it was going to be spicier than it is. Dirty Lying Faeries by Sabrina Blackburry. Dirty Lying Faeries. So I looked at this and immediately judged it by its cover and was like, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be a smutty book. And it kind of wasn't. It was a little bit, but the spice level in this, especially compared to the books we just talked about, is really rather low. So I thought this would be a good one to talk about because if you're looking for something that's romantic and fast and easy, but you really don't want to read a whole lot of smut, this is a good one because it's a little bit in there, but it's really not, it doesn't take over the story like some of the other ones maybe do. So this is about a young woman named Tessa who ends up going to this art gala. She meets the guy who is in charge of it. They hit it off, have this connection. Well, she finds out that he is actually a fairy. He is one of the fae folk. And them meeting has created this sort of connection between the two of them, and it also starts this process where she starts to become a fairy. She begins to turn into a fairy and realize that she's got powers and things like that, and a little bit surprised with how powerful that she is becoming. So I really love books about fairies, especially romance stories, and like I said, this one was really good because it was not super spicy, but it definitely focused on the two of them. Like, you don't really get a whole lot of backstory with Thea. It's not very important. She could really be supplanted with anybody, really. Even if you were like trying to imagine yourself in a book like this, you could easily take yourself and put yourself in that in that main character's shoes and sort of live out this fantasy. So really good book. I thought it was fun. You know, nothing that's gonna blow away critics or, you know, end up on any kind of New York Times, you know, best of whatever lists, but it was fun. It was a fun book. It was light, easy. Another fantasy series that was super good. Dirty Lying Faeries. I can't say the title without giggling. Okay, so the last one I want to talk about is called It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. Now, this is my first Tessa Bailey book. I was really, really excited to jump into this. This is a contemporary story, and it might take you by surprise that I'm talking about it today in terms of spicy books because of a couple things. For the first thing, the cover looks very normal, right? When you look at a cover like this, right, and the title, and you're like, I can kind of tell what this book is. When you look at this one, it looks more just like your regular rom-com, right? It doesn't look like, even the title, It Happened One Summer, like it's very cute, nice, low stakes, right? Well, this book definitely has some character development, okay? But it is also very, very, very spicy. So Tessa Bailey is apparently considered among some circles the queen of dirty talk. And, whew, yep, she is. I can 100% attest to that after reading this book. So this book definitely has character development. It's a very cute story. But the main draw of the story is absolutely the spice and the the relationship between the two main characters. So it starts with this young woman named Piper, who is this socialite. She's like this, fashionable woman. She's always kind of, doing this risky behavior. She's always kind of, getting herself into trouble, and basically one trouble times too many, she ends up overnight in jail, and her stepfather is like, all right, that's it, you're done, taking you out of this setting, and we're sending you to the Pacific Northwest. So they send her to there. They send her into this basically cold, you know, remote place that she thinks that she's never going to survive, right, because she's used to the light and the spotlight and everything. And then she meets this sea captain named Brendan, who really doesn't think she's cut out for being out where she is now. Thinks she's a weakling, thinks she's not going to be able to handle it. and she is just dead set to prove him wrong. And of course they keep running into each other. Of course there is just a lot of romance that blooms between them, and yeah, this is a really fun book. It was a lot spicier than I was expecting because I've judged it totally on its cover and didn't really, like I said, this was my first Tessa Bailey book, so I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I went into it with an open mind and it totally blew me away. I really enjoyed it. And it's also definitely very, very spicy too. So if you enjoy that kind of thing and you're looking for something like that, a lot of romance with a lot of physicality, give this one a try. Give Tessa Bailey a try. She's apparently really awesome, and this is not going to be the my only book that I have read of hers. I think I'm definitely going to try out some other ones and see what they're all about. So It Happened One Summer. Very cute. So that's what we've got for you guys today. I hope that these books sound really interesting and fun and exciting. If so, please feel free to come check them out from Farmington Community Library. And also thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.